Most of the megalithic monuments on the planet are found on European soil, but in 2003 a megalithic complex was discovered 5,000 miles away in the northeast of South Africa. Johan Heine was on a rescue mission and looking for a missing pilot when he noticed some curious stones jutting out the top of an escarpment. He studied the area extensively and believes the site to be an ancient calendar, and further exploration with Michael Tellinger has revealed a huge network of stone circles connected by small channels and a number of potential pyramids. At the end of 2014 we went south of the equator to see for ourselves what we think is a highly significant piece of a puzzle that shows the truth about how our species developed on this planet. We started at the Stone Circle village in Waterfall Botham, where we met a very busy Michael Tellinger and made some videos to help his Ubuntu project, a movement trying to offer an alternative to the established and corrupt money creation industry. To view the ruins, we began with a tour arranged through the village, where we were guided around the complex and given all sorts of information about research done on the area, such as the dolerite stones used at the complex are one of the hardest stones on the planet and would have been transported at least 1.5 kilometers as they do not occur naturally on the escarpment. He also told us some of the stories associated with the ancient site.
Now, according to the information that we got from an old shaman by the name of Baba Credo Mutwa, some of you might have heard about him or met him, who was also, by the way, initiated in the very same calendar as a shaman, or as what we call as a Sanusi, in 1936 at the age of 16. And according to him, the main purpose of the stoneman was actually to receive energy from other ancient sites like Stonehenge, for instance, or so that if he received the energy, he will transmit the energy into the two main calendar stones that acted as two vibrating plates, so that if one stands between these two rocks, it's like he's standing in the vortex of energy that spins from the ground straight up. That was his main purpose. But other than
the guided tour was great, but we wanted to spend a lot more time exploring, so we grabbed some camping equipment and hiked from the nearby village of Capture Hoop. Unfortunately for us, the escarpment lived up to its reputation for being in the clouds.
Right, so we were just moving out of the tents and now we've got to move back in because it's starting to rain. We camped here last night, obviously, as you can see. We got absolutely soaked. My mattress is completely soaked, my sleeping bag also. There was an amazing storm all around us, like the streaks of lightning were all at our height and we were watching it. We want a video obviously, but you can't really see anything and it looks dull and boring, so we're going to hang around and hopefully it will brighten up, but it's been like this for hours now. Not looking good.
It didn't brighten up, but luckily we had time and patience, and a week later we finally got our chance.
So here we are at Adam's Calendar. Now, this is quite an interesting stone circle. It's very similar for us to some of the ones that we've seen in Europe. It's made from big megalithic blocks. The layout of it reminds me very much of the stone circle I went to in Portugal. It's more like circles within circles. There is a circular formation to it, but there's so many other stones lying around that you can't exactly say it's one circle for sure. So we're going to have a look around and we're going to start with these two stones here in the center. Now these are probably 2 or 3 tons each. This one here has had a section cut out of it, and it's supposed to be that the shadow that's formed by the sun actually puts some markers on here, and this is what was used to mark the weeks and the months of the year. An interesting thing about these stones is that they give off energy and they actually disrupt the magnetic force. So if I approach the stone, it actually makes the needle spin around. So it's obviously giving off some kind of magnetic force. It's completely spinning all over the place now. So north has changed from this direction to over in this direction here. Another interesting thing is, as I said, is how hard they are and how difficult it would be to carve these stones, particularly if this was done in a time where they only had, simple tools. There's all sorts of carvings in some of the stones over here. There's another stone on the north there that's kind of got like a gouge out of it. And as you're walking down the ritual path, you can also see other stones that have got carvings, and there's lots of like shaping of the rocks in this area. So these were the marker stones right in the center. As I walk in this direction here, you will see on the northwest side of the stone circle, these 4 stones here kind of form like a line and form like a marker. And there are quite a few of these as well. There's one on the south side of the stone circle. There's this other one here, which is also doing obviously the same thing. There's a line going through there and marker stones. So it's quite obvious that these stones have been placed deliberately to form some kind of way of marking the sun or the moon to form this calendar. So this direction here is the south of the stone circle. This is the north end. You've got this tree which is growing right next to the northern marker stone. There's also a tree on the south as well, which is actually splitting the southern marker stone. So as we walk towards the east of the stone circle, this northeasterly point over here is the least complete. There's hardly any stones in this direction. There are some scattered just over there, but the southeast and the south and also the west of the circle is much more complete. There's many more stones basically. So on the eastern edge of the stone circle, which it's heading down off towards the end of the escarpment, you've got 4 really interesting stones. This one here is the one that's basically been detailed on Tellinger's website as being a stone that looks like Horus, so a connection to Egypt there, and this stone circle is also on the same line of longitude as well. So there's also 3 stones here which when they were erected or when they were standing upright were supposed to have matched the 3 stars of Orion's belt. Off in the distance there, you probably can't see them now because we're in the clouds, but there are also 3 pyramids, also said to be in a kind of a similar layout to Orion. So as we continue on round, this is coming over towards the south side. This is the southern marker stone. You can see how many more stones there are off in this direction. I mean, I'm treading all over them. They keep going right down here, all over here. Some stones over there. And we think you can see up on the cliff top there's also more. So loads and loads of stones and big megalithic dolerite stones as well.
We went to the top of that cliff overlooking the calendar and found plenty more stones, one of which had been carved into a similar shape as the one on the northern side of the main circle, and like that one it also disrupted the magnetic force. The site stretches from that upper cliff section to a tree approximately 1 kilometre along the escarpment. This tree has been analysed with infrared photography, and a curious cavity about 3 metres long and 3 metres deep has been discovered underneath. Between the grave and Adam's calendar there are hundreds of metres of megalithic stones forming what Credo Mutwa and various other shaman who have taken part in rituals at the complex refer to as the initiation path. Many of these stones also seem to have been shaped. As we walked amongst the ancient relics, with so many megalithic stones condensed into a relatively small area, we were reminded of European sites such as Carnac in France, or the corridor at Avebury in England. Standing stones, dolmen and stone circles are found all over Europe, but they are also found in clusters in other regions of the planet, such as the fields of dolmen in Israel and Jordan, the dolmen in India, or similar structures found in great numbers in Russia, and there are an amazing 35,000 dolmen found on the Korean peninsula, about 40% of the world's dolmen, including the world's largest with a 300-ton capstone. We think the distribution of megaliths across the globe is enough to show that there was a civilization that inhabited the entire planet long before our current one, and stone circles, which are found all over Western Europe, have also been found in Turkey close to the Syrian border, in the USA, India, and now Adam's calendar has extended their reach. From his discoveries in the area, Tellinger has found links to other parts of the world. He claims the 4 stones currently found on the east of the structure connect to Egypt. There are also many stones in his museum that he says have been carved into the shape of a bird, predecessors of the Zimbabwe bird and Horus. But we didn't find these pieces of evidence particularly convincing, so we went to take a closer look at some bigger and potentially more obvious connections to the opposite side of Africa.
So this is a great place to show you the 3 possible pyramids because you can see all 3 in a line here. We've basically driven about 30 kilometres from Adam's calendar, and we are just north of a junction on the R40 with a road that leads to Capture Hoop. If you want to find it on Google or something, or to have a look at these hills from above. The shape of them from this point of view is pretty convincing, triangular and pyramid-like. But from other angles, they're not quite so convincing. But this is a common theme that we're finding in some of these possible pyramids that are still undiscovered around the world. So that doesn't mean anything. There would have been a lot of sediment build-up. these could be over 250,000 years old. So there would be so much movement from earthquakes and so much going on over that amount of time that it's very possible that these are pyramids that are just slightly disjointed and have, as I said, build up sediment. This one here, as you can see, has got, you can see they're like a pyramid shape, but then it has this extra bit on the side here. So yeah, we'll go and have a look at a few more angles.
Many pyramids in the world were believed to be hills before they were discovered to be pyramids. The pyramid in Cholula, Mexico, for example, disguised itself as a hill so well that the Spanish built a church on top of it.
All right, so we've just driven between the two larger pyramid-shaped hills. This is the most northerly one, and from here it really does also look like a pyramid. Despite all the vegetation and everything in the way, it's still got that really obvious pyramid shape. So that's from the south, from the north. That's 3 angles there that we've seen. It really does pretty much look like a pyramid despite that little sort of bit of sediment build up there. So the middle one of all these 3 is also very much looking like a pyramid from this side. So this one has probably 2 points of view where it pretty much looks like a pyramid, and then there's from the other side over there when we were driving along the road, this kind of side of it is kind of drawn out and it slopes a lot more. So there's possibly, a lot of sediment built up there too. All we can do really, without doing some digging or using some kind of useful technology, we can't really tell anything else apart from just looking at them. So this one is way up there on our list of places that should really be investigated further for sure. There should be some digging to see what is actually under these, all this vegetation. We'd love to climb to the top, but in this heat with these flip-flops, all that vegetation, it's not happening.
Looking from a bird's eye view, the shape is also far from convincing, and it is hard to see any signs of Orion's belt. But if you look at the coordinates of these structures and the structures on the Giza Plateau, they are close enough to say that they are both on the same line of longitude. So whether they are pyramids or not is hard to say, but there is for sure an arrangement of megalithic stones that form a calendar, make magnets spin, and have shapes carved into them. Tellinger has used various techniques, such as using stellar alignments, psychic readings, or measuring patina growth or erosion rates to try and age the ruins, but it has been hard to pinpoint a date, with results ranging from 75,000 to 285,000 years old. So these could be the oldest ruins we have ever discovered, and if Tellinger's calculations are correct, this will also be the largest archaeological discovery we have found to date.
So we've come to a site which is about 60 kilometres from Adam's Calendar, only a couple of kilometres from Waterville Boven, which is the site of the Ubuntu Stone Circle village. Now we've come to this site to show a couple of points that make this archaeological discovery in this part of the world so fascinating. You've got behind me what is probably about 20 stone circles. It's hard to actually count them all. I mean, this one here, for example, is 8 small stone circles which form a larger circle, and then there's another circle around that. So it's circles within circles, and there's lots of ones of different sizes basically. Now the shape of all these stone circles, they're all unique. They haven't found one circle that's the same pattern as any other. You've also got between all of these stone circles, of which there are millions, you've got channels, and you can see they look like roads or veins that are connecting a lot of these stone circles. Also, in this area, you can see how there's a lot more under the ground. There's one here in particular, which is a really obvious circle with a dot in the middle, and you've got lots of terracing, which is completely covered basically by sediment and grass. And then there's more stone circles and terracing on these hills over here. So it really shows how there's tons of them. They're all over the place. So this one's a really small one, probably only, 4 or 5 meters across. We're walking down the hill round to have a look at this little valley, and there's a load of stone circles here. You can see this one with a big tree growing out of it. That's like a circle within a circle. And then over here, you've got, again, the same kind of thing. It's like a circle within a circle and a little tree. You can also see off past all these stone circles that we can see right, in 50 meters ahead of us. On the other side of the hill is all the terracing I was talking about. And there's also 5 or 6 stone circles on top of that hill just there as well. So it really has covered this little valley. Okay, so this is the stone circle that we were seeing up there that is kind of honeycomb shaped, and you can see this is part of this honeycomb structure, and there's also this other massive stone circle which is surrounding it, which is probably, I would estimate, about 40 meters in diameter or something like that. But so this is one of those channels that kind of link a lot of these stone circles together it's very unique. It's not really seen in other parts of the world. Now they are basically, as you can see, it's like very small dry stone walls that kind of run, as I said, between the stone circles. And you can see over in this direction here how this keeps going and eventually comes to another 2 stone circles over here, and there's little channels running off to them, and there's more up the hill as well. So this is a really fascinating thing to be observing, basically, especially when there's so many of these stone circles. Another thing we're noticing is that these stone circles here behind me, you can see trees sprouting out of them, and there were others on that hill over there, and on this stone circle again there's trees really sprouting out the middle. And there's not many trees around here, so it kind of suggests to us that they're flourishing inside these stone circles. I've seen this before in Gamla in Israel. We noticed that there were trees really flourishing in the center of these dolmen. They were sometimes cracking these dolmen open, but it was really obvious. It's almost like the plant life is able to use the energy that these circles or these ancient sites are giving out, and it's enabling them to grow really well. And John Burke did some really interesting work to do with putting seeds on megaliths. And these seeds grew into plants with greater yield and higher resistance to bugs, and they were basically stronger and fitter. So we wonder if this is more evidence of that, you know, to back his ideas up.
Mainstream academia suggests these circles were livestock enclosures left behind by the Bantu people during the 14th century. But the structures are unlike any other battle kraal designs, which are usually made of thorny shrubs with a single entrance for cattle. Tellinger estimates there are more than 10 million of these circles in a 10,000 square kilometre area that stretches into neighbouring Botswana and Zimbabwe, so the amount of stone required to build all these circles could never have been moved by small migrating populations, especially when you add the stones used to make the channels, the terracing, and all the stone circles that are hiding in the forest. Sadly, there isn't a sky tour offered at the Stone Circle village, but luckily for us we were saved by the generous and helpful spirit of the South African people when a friend of a friend's brother took us for a spin in his new 4-seater. It has been said that the earth rings like a bell, giving off sound waves outside the range of the human ear, and Tellinger uses experiments showing cymatics, where sand is placed on a metal plate vibrating at different frequencies and the sand forms different patterns, to suggest that the sound the earth emits also forms patterns. Tellinger believes the shapes and the layout of these circles were carefully designed to match those patterns of sound being emitted from the ground, and he suggests the stones had specific properties that enable them to harness what Nikola Tesla described as an unlimited source of free energy.
So this is another stone circle about 5 or 6 kilometers from Waterfallboffen. You can see from this one that it's a lot taller. This wall here, it's at least 2 meters. It's a lot taller than I am, so taller than the other ones we saw. It's also, a lot of these stones really ring like bells. I mean, just walking along the top of here, you can hear it. And then if I play, you can really hear that they really ring like bells. And there's all sorts of different pitches in there too, so you can almost play it like an instrument. The other things that we can notice, I mean, this is one big circle around here it just looks like dry stone walling really, but it's one big circle with a pattern on the inside, and it's a really obvious and distinct pattern as well. There's a smaller circle just on the outside here, which is complete and has no entranceways. So a lot of people have said that these could have been dwellings, but a lot of these stone circles actually don't have any kind of entranceway at all. So suggests that they wouldn't have been used for that really.
When I was a child, we used to make mud cakes, play in the mud, and the next day it dries like that. So this thing is not one of these volcanic rocks, definitely not. You can see it, look there.
Tell you what it looks like. It looks like an old big cindery part that's come out of like iron making or something. But again, I'm no expert, but that's what it reminds me of.
But that thing was definitely shaped. I think that was mud that was shaped. I
Clinker.
mean, as I said, yeah, I strongly believe that they had sound frequency which they could use to basically manipulate the molecular structure in the rocks. Because I know that they said they've tried it with heat, and it's impossible. You need like 5,000 degrees or something like that. You cannot, I mean, and just to make a scratch in granite. But when it comes to these other ones, I mean, with sound frequency, you talk about something totally different.
With sound, you've got shape, so if you're using that frequency, you're changing the shape of what it is, aren't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
which means I think it's possible that they could have done it. That they could zap something and it becomes mud. You know, or they zap something else and the mud becomes something hard, because this you can see it was shaped.
There is an interesting relationship between sound and matter. Take a look at what happens to water when placed next to a speaker and different frequencies are played. Sound can also be used to levitate objects, to cook, and sound can heal or it can hurt. So Tellinger's idea that sound energy was harnessed and used to mine gold is far from far-fetched. In the museum at the Stone Circle village, as well as Zimbabwe birds, are numerous donut-shaped stones that Michael has found activate a toroidal energy field if struck or if sound is applied. And curiously, when he took one of these stones on a flight, it disabled the entire TSA surveillance system when they scanned his luggage. He has studied Sumerian texts and the work of Zecharia Sitchin, and backs up what he says about beings coming from the heavens to the gold-rich land known in the text as the Deep Abzu, which he believes was in South Africa. He also believes the calendar was built by the Sumerian god Enki, with the body under the altar on the escarpment another god called Dumuzi. And during this time, humanity was created by master geneticists at both Adam's calendar and the Serpent Cave in Botswana. This video was meant as a guide to the ruins themselves, and we refer you to the work of Johann Heine and Michael Tellinger, who document very well and in much more detail their extensive investigations and the reasons behind their beliefs. For us, we focus on the most convincing pieces of evidence, and after our visit we continue to believe there once existed an advanced global civilization roaming the Earth before the Ice Age. This discovery in southern Africa broadens our modern understanding of ley lines and the positioning of certain ancient sites according to the patterns formed by this energy moving through the ground. It looks like our ancestors were very aware of the location of these energies and chose stones full of certain minerals that could possibly harness and consume it. And as we look at other sites around the world with precise and technically impressive shaping of rock, huge monuments that appear to have been built to be seen from the sky, underwater ruins that must have been built before the Ice Age, and the distribution of megaliths all over the planet that can weigh up to 1,200 tons, all mean we should reconsider our understanding of how our species arrived in this part of the cosmos at this particular time.
That one's really... You can hear that's echoing throughout the whole valley. Yeah?
Cool.